The spring counteroffensive of the Kiev regime against Russian forces has become the summer one in headlines of mainstream outlets and the statements of the Ukrainian gold diggers in charge. In fact, the phantom offensive of pro-Kiev forces has already been ongoing in Western-controlled social media for some time, and the majority of users are constantly fed with a flow of overhyped claims, insisting that the Russian armed forces are about to collapse. Such little gaps in this story, like the loss of the not very strategic town of Bakhmut after failed and bloody attempts of the Kiev regime to counterattack there, are treated like unimportant details. In an attempt to contain the reality, Western diplomats and the mainstream media have adopted what they likely believe to be a brilliant new strategy. According to this invention of propaganda, the Ukrainian counteroffensive may have been already ongoing, but this is not certain. Therefore, any active actions of pro-Kiev forces, like attacks on civilian or military targets in Russia, are described as operations aimed to shape the battlefield. This allows claiming both that the counteroffensive is already ongoing and not ongoing at the same time. The gap between the facts and the reality is still too large, so the Kiev regime has switched its focus from its attempts to change the situation on the battlefield to sabotage attacks and acts of terror. This started with the intensification of drone strikes and artillery shelling on Russian border regions, followed with a failed attempt to blow up a Russian warship in the Black Sea, the raid on small villages in the Belgorod region, and expectedly overhyped but still not effective drone attacks on Moscow. Thus, the mainstream media claims about operations to shape the battlefield are only connected to reality in the minds of its audience. Kiev has few options to carry out effective strikes on military infrastructure inside Russia. Thus, the main goal of such attacks is to terrorize the Russian population, damage civilian infrastructure, and gain some media hype to suck even more foreign funding into the black hole of the so-called Ukrainian fight for democracy under the neo-Nazi banner. These acts of terror will further fuel the spiral of escalation. Meanwhile, the globalist powers behind Kiev may believe that the current situation in the Donbas, Kherson, and Zaporizhzhia regions leaves no large prospects for a successful attack on the Russians there. So the way out is to support the Kiev regime's attempts to expand the battlefield to what they think to be Russia's mainland. Such a move will for sure up the ante in this war and deal a powerful blow to the shady prospects of diplomatic settlement of the situation.